Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session today. Maybe I'd ask for some people over there if you could move over here a little bit so we don't give you a backside. That would be great. Thank you. Well, welcome very much to the UX-driven customer acquisition. Today's talk is about how we make or break customer acquisition with conversational commerce solutions. And for that, I have here an amazing team that I'm going to let speak for themselves. But thank you very much for joining me today in this panel. Maybe Ekwy, would you like to start yourself?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm Ekwy, founder of Equi Botanics, which is a hair care brand, and we are actively using conversational commerce to increase our acquisition. I'm also founder of AI startup, Bite of Brilliance, where we offer AI automation solutions to other e-commerce brands as well.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Rob Manning. I work for Biotiful Gut Health. We launched a new ambient range of products in January of this year, so only about 9 months ago. So we've been actively utilizing conversational commerce on our new D2C store so that we can, we're really building it up from the ground up, so obviously looking to try and really take advantage of the technology that's available to us these days in terms of improving that user experience and driving our acquisition.
Hi everybody, it's working now. My name is Jesse Lucas, and I used to work at John Lewis as a digital product manager, and I led on their conversational commerce initiatives for a couple of years. Now I'm at Lebara, and if you don't know that, it's a really exciting challenger mobile network space that we have in 5 countries across Europe, and again, working in digital products and conversational AI, chatbots, and conversational commerce as well.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Aura, that I just realized I didn't introduce myself first. I'm from On, the sportswear brand, and I'm leading the conversational design and AI team over there. Hey, as a first question, I am actually going to ask it to the audience. We want to know a little bit about you, who you are. So I just want to, raise your hand if you have a conversational commerce solution deployed within your business. Okay. Anybody coming from an agency or service side on conversational commerce AI? Okay, good. So I think we need a lot to teach today. So my first question is going to be, how do you describe conversational commerce?
I'll go for it. Okay, it's basically the act of having business transactions through chat interfaces. It could be WhatsApp on the website, being able to conduct business transactions, so purchasing and answering questions that customers need at the point of transactions.
I think the term conversational commerce is always quite an interesting one. So if you think back, really, conversational commerce is not just from an e-commerce or even from a digital commerce perspective. It's always been there as part and part of making any sale or having any transaction with people. So if you think about even going into a retail store, you're more likely to purchase more if you can find out more about the product, about its benefits, about how it's going to be more relevant and tailored and personalized to you and your needs, whatever it is you went in there to do. And I think the term came around about 10 years ago, about 2015, when we started to then think about, well, how do you mirror that online, and how do we start to bring some of that personalization and connection? So yeah, 100%, it's about how do we start to merge together, talking to people, creating a transaction, but now within our digital spaces.
I might explain by what I think it isn't, and that helps to answer what it is. So for me, the opposite of conversational commerce is what we're used to already. So live chats on websites for if something's gone wrong. So how you have conversations, technology-powered conversations to resolve issues after purchase. Conversational commerce is essentially the opposite. So technology-powered dialogues between individuals, groups, and businesses to sell more. So rather than on customer service pages or help pages of your websites, it's right in the face on product pages where you're trying to sell more to your customers.
Thank you. I love that you say talking is something that we don't do when we sell, right? When apparently we can see here today that talking is the one thing that helps selling. So it's interesting how when we go in the digital world, we stop doing that and kind of need new technologies to bring in the same very basic concept of talking to people. Talking about new technologies, AI is something that's resonating everywhere, OpenAI, LLMs, generative, etc. But even chatbots, right? Chatbots has been kind of a buzzword for some years. What would be your advice for companies that want to integrate some of this technology but avoid the shiny object sort of syndrome that like we just need to have it because everybody talks about it, but we don't know why?
Yeah, I find many of us are being bombarded with so many tools and technology, and that makes us stop thinking about our customers, and we're more focused on, oh, what tool should I get? How much should I invest in this? What will be my ROI? But the first thing is really, do you even need to buy those tools? So firstly, I always think about my customers' pain points and my clients' customers' pain points. So where do we need to have more conversations? It's basically like the storekeeper. When you come into the store and you have your chit chats, your whatever is going on at home, you talk about it, and then what are you buying? But that's part of the conversation. So we start from what the user's pain points are, what their desires are, before we even think about transactions or what tools to go with, what provider to go with. So that's where I would always start, rather than being overwhelmed by the plethora of tools being thrown at us.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options as well that start to come up, and there are a lot of shiny new things, and there's new shiny new things that are coming to the market all the time, or new upgrades, or kind of new options you can start to go for. And I think if you're looking to get into implementation of conversational commerce, it's really important to back down to stay true to what is that pain point, what is the need, what is it that we're looking to solve through the implementation of, or any tool really, whether it's conversational commerce based or any form of AI, and how are we going to be able to do it in a way that doesn't lose that human connection? Because for me that's a super important part, in terms of building any brand, understanding more about who are our consumers, what is it they want, what are those triggers, what are those needs, and for me the piece around conversational commerce, it's really about, okay, well, how can we use it to enhance actually our product offering or our service offering or our website offering, rather than a replacement of. So I think that would be my key advice would be, be razor sharp in terms of what are those pain points, as you say, what is it that you need to get from it, how is this going to benefit your customer, and then ultimately stay there, start small, test and learn, and kind of and build it rather than trying to go all in.
I think my advice would be, especially at the beginning, use as little technology as possible. And you don't need much technology to get started in conversational commerce. It could be really as simple as putting like a WhatsApp number on a website, going through to a human, just limit the amount of customers that can see that, or if you're a small brand, just go out with that. It could be a live chat on a website going through to a human. If you're starting to think too much about chatbots and conversational AI and how that fits into the space, I think you're missing the mark. Because you can test perfectly well with humans, you just want to understand, building on Rob's point, is there a need for this from your consumers? Figure out the full solution and the North Star later on. Just get something out there and learn from your customers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, a story. For me, our hair care brand, it's quite a traumatic experience to lose your hair. And when you come on the website and you're looking for what product to buy and no one's there to respond to you, that is really the only reason we actually had a virtual assistant on the website. To answer people's questions, we have tons and tons of hair care knowledge articles, but who wants to start scrolling? People want to be engaged in the conversation. So that's essentially why we did that, because my customer service person, Diana, she works part-time. And I'm not always going to be on the other end of the Shopify widget inbox taking the call, oh, how do you solve hair thinning? So that's essentially where we started from. At the time when we're sleeping, that's when the US visitors on our websites, so we decided to invest in this, and that was where we started from.
Absolutely. So we're saying we're using it for when we don't have the means to do it otherwise, right?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
we can use it for, if you have people, let people do the work and let people talk, at least at the beginning, to really find out what our customers wanted to talk to us about. And I think that's one of the the main topics, right? That sometimes we just think, oh, let's put a chatbot with some FAQs on the website. Like, how do you build the FAQs from your websites? Is it based on what they ask or based on what you think you should explain them about the product? And have you ever validated that? That's always the first step, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Absolutely.
bit on that way. Hey, that's a great example. Maybe we can put, or if you want to explain more about it, or maybe Rob or Jesse, you want to share an example of what conversational commerce did for any of your products or businesses, and how did you do that?
I think, again, from and building in my current role, kind of we're an SME. So resource is, always going to be a challenge, and when you're looking to drive and build something new, again, I can't have 24/7 live chat support. It's just something that's not possible yet. If I look in terms of, sales data, the large majority of my sales are in the evening times, outside of that office hours. So it is always about that balancing act in terms of, okay, well, how do we do it? And I think that there are, 100% agree, we're always looking to think about what is it that the consumer, what is it the customer wants, and how do we use that to then drive insights through our business in order to improve our website content, to improve our advertising campaigns, to improve our product offering, service offering, whatever it may be. We want this kind of, everybody here is talking about like data and insights, right, in almost every stage, as you can start to go through. So it's about building on that for me, and how do we start to get to that point where, first of all, it's understanding, okay, base level, what are the key things? How do we then automate some of those tasks so that it can free up more time for the live humans to then get involved in more of the in-depth conversations that's going to get us a little bit more of an understanding about the consumer, and then we can build our knowledge up, in and around that space, and then start to, add some layers of AI and automation across those types of queries and questions, which again frees the live chat agents up to then spend more time on the even more complicated, kind of requests and conversations that start to come through. So, for me, it's just, I think, again, Jesse was saying, is that start small, and how do you then kind of build upon it? And I think that's really key. But as you say, keeping that consumer at the core. What is it that they want? Because it has to drive everything that we do.
Yeah, and when we did this at John Lewis, even though we were a massive company, we started really small. So we literally just took 5 of our staff from our shop, one of our shops, sent them home with a laptop. We put a live chat widget on our electrical assortment on our website, and just told customers, chat to us for product advice, and that was literally it. And you would not believe the amount of customers, because I always thought, oh, wait, are they going to know that it's product advice? Like, or are they going to think, oh, we've sent them an iPhone and it's broken, they're going to come to us? Customers got it straight away, and the questions customers were asking us was like out of this mind. We had no idea that customers wanted to know this before their journey, before they completed their purchase on their customer journey. And we quickly scaled from about 5 partners. So we referred to them as partners in John Lewis because it's a partnership rather than staff in stores. But yeah, we scaled from 5 partners to over 40 partners in our team, and we covered every assortment pretty much at John Lewis. So fashion, beauty, sofas, technology. Is that a hand up for me? No, sorry, we were waving at me. So yeah, we covered the entirety of the assortment pretty much, and over 7 months of testing, we spoke to 75,000 customers through this medium, and we didn't even know these customers had questions that they needed answering. We thought we had a perfect website that solved every single one of their needs, but we obviously didn't. And so it was a great source of intelligence for us about how to improve our e-commerce journey, but also what we were able to prove is we reduced returns rates, we increased conversion, and we increased revenue per visit for these customers as well. So financially, it made so much sense. And like I say, technically, very simple. Live chat and humans. There was literally no conversational AI, hardly any bots involved in this at all. We were, of course, thinking about that, but several years down the line, we wanted to make sure that we were just giving a really great experience to our customers, and most importantly, that it works.
Yeah, so it's a great example of taking a case and thinking, okay, let's validate it first and put that human behind, and then see how we scale it up. With the volume that's coming up. I want to pause for a second and see if there is any questions in the audience, now that you know a little bit more what our speakers are doing and getting hands dirty on. Okay, cool. At any time, if anybody has a question, we have a mic around, so just raise your hand. And we really want to have a conversation between us, but also with all of you today, and not just hear a bunch of people talking about things, and that's it. Yeah. Hey, picking up on this, what you said, like driving customer acquisition, right? And that's the topic of the panel, but it's something that we see that it clearly does. I was wondering, did you see any other impact regarding customer loyalty or lifetime value that resulted as of having one of these solutions in place?
I mean, I can kick up on that one. So, I mean, I think there's. I mean, you were mentioning, Jesse was mentioning some of the key metrics, around conversion rate, obviously, being a key one, but loyalty is a big part of it as well. And I know that the one thing that we've started experimenting with is, how do we make sure that from kind of, I guess, more of an omni-channel digital perspective, where we're feeding all of our data sources in to a single place. So, from a conversational commerce perspective, if we know that somebody has clicked on an email, which the key message might have been around about, are you getting enough fiber in your diet? Sorry, I work in gut health. It's really important that, not just that they feel like, obviously the website can be tailored and personalized, but even if they start to open up the live chat window, we can make sure that that information's being fed in, and that can be a conversation starter. So if they haven't found what they're looking for on the website, if we start to see there's an exit intent, but we know they came from a specific message or in from a, kind of a particular symptom or issue, we can start to pull that data up. So then it feels a lot more relevant and personalized, and it brings people, kind of back through to the website. And I think from a loyalty perspective, it really does then start to kind of demonstrate to people that you are a brand that cares about them, kind of as a customer, and it's not just an e-commerce platform for them to buy from.
Yeah, and I think loyalty, we were definitely starting to see some of that. Obviously we needed a lot of data to prove that point, so we weren't there yet. I think for us, whenever we measured the success of our conversational commerce initiatives, we were kind of really interested in 3 key buckets of metrics. So the first was, of course, financials, which is extremely important. So are we driving incremental profit at the end of the day? And we were able to prove that. The second was around customer satisfaction. So we had a CSAT metrics, a survey that goes out after our conversations. And we heard overwhelmingly positively from our customers. Yes, they love this service. The amount of times they said human in their replies as well when we gave them a comment was so fascinating. They understood that it was a human, and they valued so much that we gave them a human to speak to. And the third and final one was actually our agent satisfaction. So as I said to our partners, we surveyed them kind of every quarter just to check, did they enjoy this job? Did they like it? And they loved it. They found it was so, bearing in mind they came from stores and we sent them home with laptops, they were like, oh, this is a whole new world to us. They're speaking to several customers at a time, constantly busy, not like a store, it could be drips and drabs. They get to add value in a way that they never thought possible. So that was the kind of 3 key areas that we were looking at from John Lewis to make sure that we were performing how we wanted to with conversational commerce.
I mean, for us, initially, I won't lie, the customer satisfaction scores were down because we hadn't at least trained our virtual assistant thoroughly on my voice. So during the pandemic, I spent almost every Sunday doing Instagram Lives, just teaching people about hair and the relationship to COVID, your well-being, and how that impacts hair loss. So I had to train a bot to sound like me, and I didn't get it right the first time. So obviously, initially, CSAT scores were down. And that gave us some feedback on, oh, this doesn't sound like Ekwy, or where's Diana, who is the customer service person? So we went back, we started to relabel intent, classifying again and again, before we actually nailed it. So much so that Diana was asking, who is my staff, how does this sound so empathetic? That's because we had tons and tons of tape from my Instagram Lives, so they could hear how I sound, they could hear the customer feedback, and then that retraining, that iteration was what made it sound more like me. And then that helps us with retention and, what's it called, LTV, and also some loyalty. So you know that you're going to get me, but it's not me, and I'm very transparent about it, because I can't be there on the website 24/7.
That would be great. Someone asked me that a few years ago, like who would be the best customer service person to have in front of your e-commerce or your company? The answer is straightforward, the CEO, right? Like CEO
yes.
would be the best person to be talking to all your customers. Unfortunately, you can't. So how do we make millions of CEOs speak to our millions of customers all the time? And I think that's what.
Yeah, we're getting tens of thousands of website hits, and the virtual assistant can be there on every little instance, and I can't. Like I can only have one conversation at one time. So I'm definitely limited.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting what you said, that at the beginning it took a while and people were complaining and you had that drop on CSAT
Yes.
or customer satisfaction, right? I mean, we all faced a stupid, and sorry for the language, chatbot here, right? Like we all went into websites that didn't really work. Can you please raise your hand if you used a chatbot before? Okay. How many of you actually liked talking to that machine?
I like it.
Okay, not so many. The ones that I see here are really into the topic. Did you build it yourself? Nigun, pretty much, right? Hey, that's really the problem that we're facing nowadays, that expectations are, one, very high, but also what we experience that we had is really low, right? So when you mention human as a good thing, right? As a good parameter that people mention under conversations. For me, that's the worst thing that you can ask for, right? If you come to me like, speak to a human, it's like, oh my God, my bot is not working because you're asking to speak. First of all, well, because we're transparent, but you notice that and you're frustrated and that. So speaking to human is like the one thing that we don't want to hear. So that was a very
It
interesting.
definitely depends on the customer, the business, and
Yes.
that's why you've got to understand what works right for you. You can't just replicate what somebody's doing that's great in one business and expect that to work everywhere. That's going to fail. So yeah, of course, we were thinking about chatbots, conversational AI, and how we could make that work. But actually, for us, we randomly found a niche with humans that we didn't really expect to, but it works. So why wouldn't we see how we can make that bigger?
Yeah.
I think you're right. It is definitely about what is the company and what are those needs. So right at the moment, I'm working in gut health. My previous role, when we started to introduce kind of conversational commerce, was for a sexual wellness brand. And that was an area where people didn't want to talk to a human, because actually talking to a chatbot or a machine felt a little bit more comfortable for them to maybe talk about what it was they wanted to come and talk about and or ask. They didn't actually feel that same level of embarrassment factor. So I think you say there's definitely industries and sectors where actually, kind of being able to offer the more anonymous maybe, type conversation. And I see it a little bit now within gut health as well, in that, people will quite often want to find out about, particular conditions, and actually sometimes they're a little bit more open in terms of, if they think it's a chatbot versus if they think it's a live agent. Even though the chatbot obviously can't give them any medical advice or nutritional advice.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's also key, what's the target, right? Like who are your customers? And that's something that sometimes it's overlooked, right? Like who are you talking to? Is it like a 16-year-old girl that wants to know about how to grow her hair longer because of fact, or is it another type of customer that's not used to that technology? So that is something that also really affects that experience, is to think, who am I talking to and how do I adjust that sense, right?
That's so important, because if you don't know your customer, how can you actually tailor those conversations?
Yeah.
So like, we have people who are perimenopausal, and that's a different conversation around hair loss. We have people who are maybe going through stress, that's a completely different conversation. Or people who just have tablets that are causing the hair loss. So that requires a lot of learning and training. So all the knowledge we have as humans, different types of individuals, all that in one virtual assistant, it's a lot of work. So I would say conversational commerce is not a magic pill or a magic button. It takes time. It's a lot of iterations, a lot of training.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Question? Yeah, can we have a mic somewhere? Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. I just thought it was so interesting because I think I had an experience today because I changed my SIM from a provider to Talk Mobile, and I put the SIM in and it wasn't working. So I used the chatbot, and I was in the tube, so I needed Wi-Fi because I had no network. And the chat agent was so helpful. He was a human, but then they asked me to put in a form that took me forever to do, with my, my date of birth and my name and all of these things. I did it, and then the chat stopped working, and then I had to go and open up the chat again and start all over again. And so therefore, I think that AI or human as long as it's a good experience and then the customer doesn't have to repeat themselves and it's easy to work with. So actually, as a feedback that they did send me afterwards, I did say, great agents, terrible technology. Please change your chatbot provider. It's not chatbot provider, just a chat provider. And that was the experience today. So I think it's either a chatbot if you have a good experience. I just wanted for my service to work. I didn't care if it was a chatbot or if it was a human. It's just like, please give me service. So I think that's also something good to consider for the future.
What network?
I changed to Talk Mobile.
So wait, should have joined Lebara.
You've got a great service there. That's actually one of your points from today's talk.
We
right?
actually do that in our bot. Completely handle that. We don't need the agent. I'll give you some help after for how to do it. Yeah, we can give you some help. But I think it's a really interesting point because when we build chatbots at Lebara, we identify those kind of intents and those conversations we want to have with our customers. But it's not necessarily we put every conversation in a chatbot, it's which conversations are the right conversations to have in a chatbot versus a human, and then it's can we do a good enough of experience of doing that a conversation in a chatbot, and then we'll put it there. Like in your experience, same for a human as well, right? We should only be putting the conversations in the right channel if we are confident in delivering the best experience for the customer. That's what it's got to come down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking, knowing your target, like knowing your customers is really important, and having the right tech stack behind as well, like or differentiating. Is there anything else that you would say that it's often overlooked when we build this type of solutions?
It's removing as much friction as possible as well, and I think there's any technical implementation, you should always be thinking about how do you make it as simple, and what is it? I mean, you were talking about, data that it was asking you for, was that 100% necessary to capture at that moment in time? Probably not. So therefore, why is it? It's because someone said, oh, this is a really great opportunity for data capture, so we can build it. But that creates a pain point. It creates a point of friction, which is outside of what the customer experience and what that user experience should be. And there's so many examples of that as we start to look. And some of it is unfortunately down to the fact that we talked about shiny new things, and there always being shiny new things. Well, we're always doing that, right? Oh, we're going to do this for this, and we've got this for this, and then we're going to add this on, and you add this on, and before you know it, you've got multiple pieces of technology that aren't necessarily working in sync. So as any, I guess, kind of e-commerce or into any type of tech, it's always as well looking, taking that step back and going, what is the customer journey? Whether it's conversational commerce or not, where are those friction points, and kind of how do we remove them? So yeah, I mean that would be me. Just remove friction.
Remove the friction. Okay.
Oh, me? Okay. I think for me it's really patience.
Patience.
Because when we are sold these tools, we're really like there's a lot of hard selling. Oh, this is going to turn around your conversion rates speedily. Before you know it, you're going to increase your revenue. It takes time, but I wouldn't say that should dissuade you from investing. I would say, look at the pain points of your customer. At what point of your customer journey is a conversation to be had? And at that point, can LLMs, AI help you? And if they can, you can test small, just like Jesse was saying. Start small, test with a human maybe, and then scale with technology. But then know that it's an iterative process. Like, I don't think that my virtual assistant is ever done, because my customers are constantly evolving, the marketplace is constantly evolving, the landscape is changing, so I always have to try and adapt my voice, adapt the content, new ingredients are coming out all the time, new hair products, and what people are needing. So it's, for me, it's about patience, it's about knowing that we're in this for the long term, is what I would say.
Okay, so summing up here, so we get some key takeaways. We have target, so get to know your customers before you talk to them or before you create solutions that automatically talk to them. We have choose the right tech stack, or as Jesse said this morning, tech partner, because that's going to take you very far. Avoid friction, so don't start adding up more and more touch points just because the sake of doing it. And have patience. It takes time to build all of it. I think that's a really good takeaway from this. Hey, you mentioned talk points, right? Like where to talk to our customers. How can we integrate these solutions across channels, because we always tend to talk to chat or chatbot, and we imagine that little box on our website, that's it. There's a lot more channels that our customers can interact with us, right? So what's your take on how can we basically move these or integrate these solutions across channels?
I think starting small is key, because right now I don't want to stretch myself by going on the websites, Instagram, WhatsApp, because we can do all that. But I feel like because we have so many hits on the website right now, we can actually look at acquiring those customers and working with those numbers, learning from that process before going to the next main channel. So there are so many tools available, and it's possible to integrate these agents, these assistants on all these different channels. But I think slow and steady wins the race, and once you get data from one channel, you can then begin to expand, especially as a small business. But I don't know, you guys are big companies, maybe you have a different take.
I mean, I think it's a similar answer to some of the other stuff, which is starting with your customer, right? Because it's what channels are your customers conversating on? That's the most important thing, because you might end up building a solution for a channel that isn't important for them. And of course, different channels have different purposes as well, which is important to remember. So some for your customers might feel more about speaking about like a customer service issue on one channel, a buying query on conversational commerce on a different channel, maybe more like Instagram direct messaging. So you have to really understand what's right for your customers. Again, I guess you want to just make sure that from a technology point of view, you have the right platform that enables you to scale to all and every single channel as a potential North Star. If you want to offer that true omni-channel experience, realistically, are we going to ever achieve that North Star? There's so many different channels out there constantly changing, and it's just not necessary, but you just want to make sure you're starting with the right ones that are important for your customer, and you have that baseline that allows you to grow your channels.
I mean, I'm not sure I can add an awful lot more on, to be fair. I think, both answers so far have nailed it through, but it'll be reiterating in terms of, from the technology perspective, and that, looking in terms of technology stack, so often we don't get the opportunity to be, kind of starting from scratch, right? You've got existing platforms, you've got CMS platforms, you've got maybe kind of chatbot or live chat platforms in place, you've got email marketing platforms, you've got all of these different parts. So, sometimes it is quite a challenge in order to be able to sit there and go, well, okay, well, how do we start to make all of these work? But I mean, I guess my advice would be in terms of just be brave. If you've got a whole heap of technology that's not going to integrate, it's not going to work properly, you can put some sticky plasters over it and hope, but you can bet your customers are going to notice those sticky plasters, those friction points. It's where it's going to crash, it's going to break, it's where conversations aren't going to flow. So yeah, I guess for me it would be a case of saying, just imagine you were starting with that blank sheet of paper, what would it look like, built from the bottom up, and then think about, okay, how do we get there?
Be brave, I love that. I really do. Yeah, sometimes it feels like, especially being here, you have so many solutions, and I guess you have a solution for absolutely everything you can ever imagine, and also for things that you didn't even know you need solutions for. And it's a bit of, where is that balance on like, how many solutions do I integrate versus what exactly do I need, and how can I do that in a holistical way that it doesn't make my life difficult down the line, that it's kind of like, I think what a lot of businesses go to, and it's like, oh, I have all these tools now, how do I make them talk to each other? And that kind of ends up one of the cases. I'm going to ask one more time, is there any more questions on the audience right now? Cool. And then I'm going to switch a bit the lens on this. And I mean, we're talking in chatbots, conversational commerce, AI, and all of these technologies, really, really cool. And I want to look from a privacy perspective, and I know this is always a big topic, right? But how do you manage, when you were saying, Rob, about getting data from your customers and getting to know them, balance that hyper-personalization that we're all looking for with actually not being too intrusive into their own customers' data?
I mean, data privacy is, it's always a key topic, particularly when it comes to hyper-personalization. And I forget off the top of my head, but there are more people who say they're interested in hyper-personalization than are prepared to give their data up to a brand, which makes it even more of a challenge. So for me, the best word I can talk about is transparency. So it's just being very transparent with your customers in terms of what you're doing, how, why, and what the value and the benefit's going to be to them. value exchange is core when it comes to any type of kind of usage of data. How are you going to use it? What are you going to use it for? And just be very clear and upfront, and give the right opportunities for people to opt out, and the right type of information for them to say, actually, I don't want this, and then respect that decision.
Yeah, I agree completely. That's what we've done. We've made sure that people who don't want to be spoken to about, I don't know, Mother's Day or personalization, we let them opt out, and we have to do the work of making sure that we don't approach those conversations with them. And it can be quite, because you want to do everything for all your cohorts and all your segments, but at the same time, I think it's so important to understand privacy, and when it begins to encroach on people's personal lives. They may want the personalization at times, but they don't want to give you the data, and then you can't really hyper-personalize to them. And that, again, to your point, is transparency and being very clear that if I don't have this data, I can't do this for you. But if I have this, then I can do this. And if you trust us, definitely your data is kept in-house. It's not being sold to anybody. It's not being used for any other thing except to serve you better. And that's where our focus completely from day one.
I think my motto for this space is be cool, not creepy. And that's like whenever designing something, obviously you need the right guardrails, the right people who will like keep me in check and like design the software, make sure we do everything in the right way. But actually, you can also go the other way, and that's what I mean by like be cool, not creepy. Because you can produce a really bad experience for that customer, or you can actually like turn that around and make it even better than it would have even if you weren't doing something just like the standard. I've got a really great example for this. So in our chatbot, you can log in inside our chatbot, and then we can do a lot more with your account. And now when you're logged in on the website, we say auto-authenticates you for our chatbot, so you don't have to do it. That's cool, right? Because it means you don't have to log in twice, it's really effortlessly. But we didn't want to just like suddenly start telling somebody about their account, even though they're logged in and we've done the right thing, because that's a bit creepy. It's like, hang on a second, I'm like...
I know where you live.
You're like, I know you, I know your account balance, everything like that. Like, that's really creepy. But what we made ourselves is look really cool by saying, oh, we see you're logged into your account, let's get straight ahead to doing this thing for you that you want, whatever it is. So we've like turned it around into really positive, because now we look super cool, like looked really advanced in terms of what we can do. And you're not falling into that creepy trap, which is just weird, and we all instinctively know what's creepy. So when designing solutions, just don't do it.
That's very simple, sounds simple.
When you're designing, you forget, like you're also a customer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I just wanted to pick up on what you said, and you also brought, like, sometimes people want a hyper personalized experience, but then when they ask me, I don't want to give that data away, right? And it's like, well, you need to match up the expectations of what are you giving to like what are you getting at the same time. But in your point is, yeah, like there is a point where like you can give them, make it easier. It would have been super easy for you not to have to fill up the whole form today. Twice, just because you got disconnected on a chat, right? That would have been the cool, not creepy sort of balance that makes a lot of sense.
You could have saved that data, and then when you came back with the IP address, recognize you and pull it up again. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now you got them. Now you got them. Hope they get better. Hey, I just thought about explaining it, and kind of just clicked in my mind, like when I'm talking to, I have a small toddler, and I just tell him to do things or to give me things, he would just not do it. Because why would he? Like, accept all my cookies, why would I? But if I explain you that if you accept my cookies or if you give me that, then I will be able to, not having to like give me your email address again or your order number or tell me why, then maybe that would be easier. So in terms of transparency and being clear. That makes sense.
I don't think people's comfort levels change the more they get used to it, and I mean this is on a version, I guess, of conversational commerce. But many people now have some form of digital assistant in their home. We've all got, whether it's Android or iOS, you've got a digital assistant built into your phone. But actually, kind of many of us still don't necessarily feel that comfortable talking to it and getting it to do stuff for us. Yet the technology is there, kind of my children, I've got, kind of 9 and 13, they just walk in and talk to the house like you would have always been able to done, because it's been part and parcel of their life. So from that perspective, they're more and more comfortable with types of technology. And it's the same now in terms of if you think about, from a conversational perspective, Alexa's a good one, linked solely into Amazon and your Amazon account. A lot of it's still, what should we say, it's on demand, right? There's a trigger word. You have to say, hey Alexa, and ask a question in order to engage it. I mean, we all know she's listening all the time anyway. Could be a proactive conversation, but the only thing that's stopping you is if you literally walked into your room and they have echo detection, so she knows when you're in, and says, oh, hey Rob, did you want me to do X, Y, and Z? You would be, what the? That's that creepy bit, right?
That's very creepy.
Yeah.
That would be the good.
But the technology is there.
Yeah, but one day we might be okay with that, right? These things change over time and how comfortable we are with it. Maybe that's what we'll want in 5-10 years' time.
Yeah.
And maybe some individuals do want that. So yeah, it's about depends on your customer, start with your customer.
Your next beta trial.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. I don't think some of us are not
No,
there
no.
yet.
And it's absolutely generational, right? What you were saying, like it's different. My son gets into the kitchen and there is an Alexa, and he doesn't even see it because it's too high up.
Yeah.
But he just says Alexa music, and that's for him how it works. Like the way of putting music is just saying it out loud, and he's got used to it. So I can imagine him in 20 years expecting this sort of behavior. Like, why should I remind myself of the to-do list? Like, just tell me when I go home, no? So that's also a good point. Or whatever I have to buy, right? When we're talking about commerce. If my shampoo ran out, why couldn't you not remind me proactively, hey, do you need another pair?
Or at this age, this is what's going to happen to my hair, so therefore, give me more ingredients like so. Like, I don't need to be telling you that, you need to be telling me. I think we'll get there one day. Yeah.
Interesting. It's almost time, but is there any more questions coming up? Otherwise, I will just, yeah. Can we have a mic over here, please? Or maybe not. Okay, coming.
Can everybody hear me? Can we hear me? Yeah. So you're talking about personalization there and how customers want a hyper-personalized experience, but they're not willing to give up the data. So there's obviously a lot of things you can do around personalization that's not, hi John, from your location and your gender and things like that, in terms of like products and personalizing the website. So in terms of that, like what's more effective when we're talking about personalization? Is it like personalized product recommendations? Is it like dynamic imagery that resonates with the visitor of the website? From your experience, without the kind of first-party data, what's the best personalization angle?
Were you able to catch that?
Yeah, I caught some of it, yeah.
I think maybe just rephrasing it because the audio is not really good, but the question was around what type of personalization could work best, because we know about gender and we know about price and behavior, but is it based on the content itself, so images, or how the product? No. I think it was based on is it product recommendation or images changing on the website that could help more of what the type of personalization?
For us, it's very much personalized recommendations. Because not everybody has the same texture of hair. So if you have straighter hair, you wouldn't particularly want a particular ingredient in your product. Or if you have graying hair, for example, you also want more thicker, richer things because your hair is drier. So asking those questions and saying, okay, because you have such and such hair, I recommend you use this once a week or twice a month. It's different. So that really works for us. And that also comes from the fact that I spoke to my customers every week for a whole year on an Instagram Live. That's the only way I could know that these questions people ask. Yeah.
So how do you use the product itself?
How do you use the product?
That's the
personalized
for you.
to your hair texture, yeah. Yes.
Any other examples?
Yeah, I would say similar as well. So personalization around specific needs and requirements. So, for me as well, particularly from a gut health perspective, there's different elements, right? So there's people who are interested in general wellness and being able to kind of improve. There are then people who have got, some quite serious gut health issues. Now, I mean, we're not a medical provider, we're a food provider, so we have to be quite, specific in terms of what and how, but ultimately, I will know which route they've come into the website on. So for me, it's just that super simple like personalization, even at that level of you have come in on the fact that you have got bloating or IBS or discomfort, or you're interested in improving mental focus or natural energy, or you're looking in terms of how you can make your diet full of more natural ingredients, improve your microbiota. These are the messages that we push out. So almost, to not recognize that when it comes through to the website means you've done all of this work in your advertisement, and then you kind of just, letting people try and find their own way through what is quite a complicated subject. So it's just making sure at that point of landing, everything's kind of started to join up of what their need is, and again, if they go into the live chat, that type of information is available, and if they've maybe purchased before or anything else. So.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is just it's about understanding those different types of customer journeys, what those key ones are for your customers and for your business, and then just making sure you're using the appropriate personalization for that. Because you can go the other way, right? You can overboard it. If someone just wants to buy something and check out, and they don't want to be upsold, just let them do that as easily as possible to contain that sale. So yeah, just really understand your key customer journeys and then work on your personalization strategy based on that.
Yeah. One thing maybe if I can add here is that one thing that we're looking at personally is, do we take all the information that we have from conversations and adapt the website at that live moment to that sort of narrative of where is it going live? That is something that, could that work? Would that increase conversion, right? If you're talking about a tennis product, I show you tennis products on the website itself. Real time, exactly, so real time live. But then this is a narrative that brought us to the point like, okay, where is the limit on what are you talking to, and then how much are we narrowing it down on making it biased towards that only one solution, right? So I think that that's still something that needs to be discovered in that regard. Thank you. One more over there. Okay. Sorry, they're telling me like you're going to have to come and ask the question to us directly, but feel free to come up to stage and we can do that. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.